Hello, you fabulous interior design professional. Welcome to Business of Design. We're so glad you're here. I'm Kimberley Seldon, and I just got off the phone with clients. Why does that matter? Well, I guess it matters because as we travel this road of the world of an interior design professional, maybe I hope it's comforting to know that I really do know what's going on in your life and how complicated, complex, challenging, insane this business can be. And I just got off the phone with clients, or not a phone, but a Zoom meeting with clients. And I love these clients. They're absolutely lovely in every way. And yet they have been somewhat challenging to work with. Not because they aren't lovely, because they are super lovely, and that's wonderful. And I find that most of my clients these days are kind of super lovely. Sorry, I'm fixing my collar here. If you're watching on YouTube, like I'm like, hey, I'm all twisted. Did I really just meet my clients with my shirt looking crazy like that? I might have. Anyway, they're lovely and they're challenging. Those things can be true. You can pre-qualify correctly. You can qualify correctly. You can end up with an ideal client and an ideal project, and maybe the client is just one beat below ideal for whatever reason. I don't even want to say that about these people because they are just, I adore them. I love them. But we find ourselves in a position on almost a monthly basis where they want us to apply the retainer we have on account to some outstanding invoices. And I really appreciate what that feels like, when you've extended yourself a bit too far and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know, what can I do to kind of hold off? I need to stop this for a minute. I appreciate it. They ask this question on a regular basis, and it means that I've had to, on a regular basis, talk about something that was never super fun to talk about anyway, which is policies and boundaries and systems and all those kinds of things that I love having, but even to this day are somewhat challenging to talk to clients about. So in this case, we really are nearing the end of the project, but we're not at the end of the project. We've got a couple of deficiencies, including kind of a big one. Should I tell you about that? Oh man, oh man, oh man, you guys. It's just holy cow. I hope that if you've taken something away from the podcast, and I hope you have, we have so many devoted listeners, and that's amazing and super gratifying. If you've taken something away, you know this. I want you to be an expert. And the way to be an expert is to rely on systems. And we teach you those systems at Business of Design, not on the podcast, FYI, but at Business of Design, where you should absolutely 100% become a member immediately, if not sooner. Um, but B, I also want you to be profitable because you can't run a business without being profitable. You won't feel great about what you do unless you're profitable. And there's a huge difference between getting by and making a little bit of money and making huge profit. So you don't ever have to worry about finances again. And I want the latter for you. And so I do hope that you are charging sufficient money. And if you take that away from the podcast, that you just constantly increase your rates and keep charging so that you can earn a living. I'm so happy about that. So on this job site, I hope I didn't tell you about this because, it is my podcast and I do go on and I use you as my therapy sofa. So maybe I did tell you about it. But anyway, we did a dining sofa and it wasn't quite the right height. And it was a series of misfortunes or unfortunate events, emails, and a whole bunch of dialogue. And finally, at the end of the day, the final drawings were sent through for a signature, and they had the old size, the old height, or the standard height of the sofa on them, and they were signed by my office. So, boom, culpability. There's no question about it. Yes, the upholsterer knew, the custom upholsterer, the custom furniture maker knew that it was supposed to be dining height. It even says dining height, but the actual inches that are shown on the drawing are the incorrect. They're a standard sofa height. So after some back and forth, and working with my upholsterer, we've come up with a solution that's going to get this solved for the clients. But, that's a huge deficiency. And in this case, it's unusual that we have some culpability in the mistake. Usually it's a supplier error, it's a vendor error, it's something nobody could have foreseen. And we do bill clients for the time it takes to resolve deficiencies. But in this case, we have, I got to admit, we have some culpability here. So it's a bit of a gray area, and I don't want to bill the clients when really and truly we did make a mistake. So we're getting it resolved. It's all okay, but that's a big deficiency. And you do want to maintain control of your retainer when you have a big deficiency outstanding for sure. So you make sure that your expertise is paid for. So anyway, yet again, we're having the conversation about the retainer, how we hold it to the end, but we're really, 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 really close to the end. And I was able to explain to the clients why we have the policy, how it's essential to running of our business, and we were able to figure it out largely because they are just reasonable, lovely human beings who are just wonderful. And I'm very lucky because I had a coaching call with someone over the weekend. I'll tell you about the coaching call as soon as we hear from Cheryl, because she's got some great announcements, and you are definitely in the right place. Can I tell you what we're going to talk about today? Because I haven't even told you what we're going to talk about today. Do you even know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about hourly fees, flat fees, and hybrid fees. What should you choose? How should you choose it? And what's your best resource for figuring that out? Oh, hello, Business of Design, of course. But let's hear from Cheryl Horn first. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Well, in this episode, as Kimberly mentioned, you're going to be learning about design fees, but we really hope that is not your only revenue stream. So when you're done with this episode, head to businessofdesign.com, click on events, and check out what we're doing at High Point Market. In addition to meeting up with you at some amazing showrooms, thank you to Four Hands, Sunpan, Etu Home, and Theodore Alexander for hosting our many events happening at High Point. We have some amazing topics for you, and the focus really is a second revenue stream. You should actually have three, but your second revenue stream being procurement for your projects. We're going to be talking about ignore the budget and specify better products, growing profitability with your vendors, and really focusing in on how design fees are not enough. So this episode is a great start. We want you making a lot off of your design fees, but again, it's not enough, and you really should have multiple revenue streams on every project that you work on. And after all that, we're going to be heading to the Suites at Market Square for our keynote talk. We're going to be giving 20 musts for your business, actionable systems that you can implement right away. And that talk will be followed by Business of Design's 20th birthday celebration. We hope you can join us for all of that as well. Sunday morning at Theodore Alexander, we will be doing a panel discussion led by Kimberly in partnership with Zena and Daniel House Club. Our full itinerary is online. Again, please head there. If you are going to be at High Point Market, we'd love to be part of your itinerary. And then just quick mention, our next BOD Live happening pretty early this month. It's actually going to be tomorrow, Wednesday, October 16th. And I'm just going to be doing open coaching, answering any of your questions about membership and the BOD systems. Thanks so much.
Okay. I mentioned prior to announcements that I had a coaching call over the weekend, and I always know when someone phones to get some business advice that and they need the conversation urgently. I usually have some idea that there's something that's gone wrong with the project, and almost always 90% of the time the client owes the designer money, and that was certainly the case here. And as with every single call that I take like this, and I actually really love these calls because I know I can be helpful. I know we can solve we can solve the problem going forward, provided the person's willing to implement the system that's going to fix the problem. But I can also help minimize the damage and help the business owner, the interior design professional, come up with language in order with which to approach the client, which can be really scary, right? So we can script it out and we work through it, and we know what we're going to ask for and what we're going to settle for and what we're willing to do and what the risk what our appetite for risk is and all that kind of stuff. But I had this call, and yet again, when something goes wrong on a project, or when I won't even say that. When a client wants to deviate from the rules, systems, boundaries, and strategies you need in your business to protect you, it can seem like no big deal. It can seem like a really small thing. And in this case, it was a series of small things where the client said, hey, I know you guys were going to order, and I'm making this up and you don't know who the designer is, so it doesn't matter anyway. I know you guys were going to order the audio and sound equipment. But if I order it directly, I can save a little bit of money. Would you mind if I do that? I mean, when you're working on a multi-million-dollar project and the client says something like that, you might be inclined. I totally understand the impetus. You might be inclined to say, okay, sure, of course, why not? And then the client does that. And then another month goes by and something else comes up similar. And the client again says, there's just this one thing. Would you mind if I do this one thing? And before you know it, there are a handful of things that you've lost control of and that fall under the client's jurisdiction. And then what started to happen is the client started to think about all the different places where the interior design firm was acting on behalf of the client as the manager of the project or doing project management, not just procurement, but also project management. And then the client started saying, well, I was able to order the audio system and it was not a big deal. And I don't understand why it would take you so long to do the following, blah, blah, blah. And then really quickly, the designer's in a position of defending her work, defending her expertise, and justifying having spent time solving problems that the client asked her to solve. And that is not a powerful position to be in. It's not a good position to be in. Gosh, we have to have another podcast where we talk about how to channel your better energy to have these meetings with clients, because part of it is body language, part of it is the semantics, part of it is your level of confidence going into the conversation. And anyway, we were able to kind of pick apart or unpack all the small places where this designer made a tiny exception. And those tiny exceptions were the thin edge of the wedge that led to the client thinking that they knew how to run things just as well as the designer did, and pushing back, and then ultimately withholding money that should have never been withheld. And the one humongous mistake, humongous, was having an insufficient retainer. And I guess that's what leads us into the conversation today. One of the things we've been celebrating in the past week or so is I just wrapped on the audio version of Business of Design, Run Your Business. We've never done an audiobook before. It was really exciting. I loved going to the sound studio with Adam and going in the booth and drinking coffee in between takes and having someone listen to every word and saying, that wasn't clear. Can you say that again? And hearing me swear in between, every unsuccessful take. I do swear a lot, it turns out. I didn't realize that. Something to work on, something else to work on. Anybody, we're celebrating that. And the book culminates in a conversation around which contract should you use? Should you use an hourly fee contract? Should you use a flat fee contract? Or should you use a hybrid model? And I use all three. And in fact, recently we did a BOD live on the hybrid method, and we now have offered up a third contract at Business of Design, which is a hybrid contract. The interesting thing, or the helpful thing, I know in the chapters about your hourly fees, not just, should you use an hourly fee, a flat fee, or a hybrid, all the things that lead up to that, to put you in a position where you actually have the contract you need in front of the client who's ideal, and you're able to position yourself as the expert and introduce your systems, boundaries, and protocols so your projects run smoothly and efficiently and logically and linearly. And you can celebrate when you do big reveals with clients, like we recently had one last month, which was so fun. And the clients brought us flowers. Oh my gosh, I'm really going all over the place today, but that's okay. I'm going to get back to the topic: hourly fee, flat fee, hybrid fee. Anyway, the Run Your Business culminates in a conversation about which of these you should use. And it goes through the amount of money you can expect to make using various methodologies. And it goes through how specifically I calculate the retainer. And I can't tell you, it's so funny. 20 years ago, when Business of Design launched, it was really hard for me to calculate the retainer. I had all kinds of convoluted things I did to get to the correct retainer amount. 10 years later, it was much easier to get to the retainer. And about 5 years ago, it hit me. It is the simplest thing in the entire world. I can't believe I made such a big deal about it. It can't be easier to figure out what the retainer is. It can't be easier. It's the easiest thing in the whole world. And because it's easy to figure out what the retainer is, it is so easy, dead easy, simple, easy to figure out what a flat fee should be. Can't be easier, could not be easier. I'm a very slow learner. I've said this, it took me 20 years to figure out how to make it super duper easy. I think it's one chapter or two chapters in the book where you go through and you learn how to calculate the retainer, how to calculate the flat fee. So that's easy. I promise. Easy, easy, easy. You're going to love that. So please run out and get a copy of the book or join Business of Design or do both. Both of those things are good. We have a lot of work to do and we want to reach more designers and help more designers. And your support of what we do here is essential to us. So thank you. Hey designers, just popping in to remind you of the wonders of Daniel House Club. DHC simplifies your design business, offering everything you need in one place. No more wasting time managing orders. They've got that covered, so you can concentrate on creating beautiful spaces. Plus, they offer some of the best trade pricing on top brands like Four Hands, Curry & Co., and Hudson Valley Lighting, with flat rate shipping. To join, visit danielhouse.club and use the promo code BOD2024, all caps, for 50% off your first year of their Pro Plus membership. And for you longtime members of DHC, they want to reward you for your loyalty. Use the code HighPoint2024 at checkout to receive 10% off the value of your next order. DHC is also super excited to celebrate BOD's 20th anniversary with us this fall at High Point Market. They will be sponsoring our seminar series on Saturday, October 26th, in partnership with some of their top vendor showrooms, including Four Hands, where mimosas will be on tap. Join Daniel House Club now and experience how easy managing your design business can be. So with the hourly fee contract, you've got to ask for that retainer. But with a flat fee contract or a hybrid contract, you've got to ask for the flat fee. And in both of those cases, it's a big number, right? So calculating the number is part of the equation, but asking for the number, that'll get you too, right? And that's what I find over and over again when I'm coaching these amazing, talented, hardworking, professional interior designers who seem like they have everything going on. When it's time to say the number, to tell the client what size retainer they need or what size flat fee they need, it's sheer panic and all kinds of justifications and excuses, and what I call internal negotiating begins. And they say a different number. They say a lower number. Every time they say a lower number. And I would say, I haven't done any hard data on this, but I would say 75% of the calls I get from someone who is just calling me for one session of business training, not the people who work with me for 3 or 6 months and we dig into their profit and loss statements. That's different. This is somebody who calls and says, I'm in trouble, I need help. 75% of the time is because they don't have sufficient funds. They did not get sufficient funds up front, whether you're working with an hourly fee, a flat fee, or a hybrid contract. So that was the case this past week. And I always say at the end of these meetings, please call me back and let me know what happened. And often that doesn't happen. They don't call back. They don't let me know what happened. And usually that means, because I'll run into them at High Point or something and say, hey, whatever happened with so-and-so. Usually it means that it didn't turn out the way that they wanted to. It's bad news. But even when it's bad news, kiddos, I got to tell you, if you learn the lesson and you never undercharge again, it's worth it. Don't sweat it, move on, but don't make the same mistakes twice. I'm the queen of making the same mistake 12 times. So trust me when I tell you I know this. So how do you determine the flat fee? How do you determine the retainer? And then how do you ask for it? That's specifically what we teach in Run Your Business. Very quickly, very simply, the simple hacks I use that allow me to ask for the big numbers. And then the final piece of the pie and what I started talking about off the top of the show is who has control of the retainer and when it's used and what it's used for. If you don't hammer that out, and the same thing is true for a flat fee, if you don't hammer that out up front when you're at your peak power, when you're introducing your contract, then you're done. You can never introduce new rules to old contracts. I mean, old clients. It doesn't work, right? It's very, very difficult to retrain a client once you've introduced a particular set of rules and facts. So do it right from the beginning. You'll never look back. The conversation I had with my clients this morning went well. That doesn't mean I was excited and eager to remind them yet again that we hold the retainer to the end. I don't like having to do that. It still makes me uncomfortable, to be honest, but not so uncomfortable that I don't do my job. I can lean into the systems and the guardrails that I've built around my business. And it also helps that a senior designer was on the call with me and I know she's watching. And if I even show a little bit of, fear or doubt, I'm going to hear about it later. So I was proud of my behavior. And all that said, it's just not an easy business. And there are advantages to the different types of contracts you choose and who you should use each type of contract for. And all of that is now available in an ebook and an audiobook for the first time ever. I feel like, ooh, we're just so modern and hip and cool. Yeah, I know you're laughing at me. What can I say other than I'm really glad you're here. I'm super grateful for your support. Please don't allow Business of Design to be a well-kept secret. If you love us, share us. If you like us, subscribe on your favorite podcast listening app. Give us a review. We don't ask for that very often, but it would mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to all of us. And I love you. Thanks for being here. See you next time.